like I got to go back to the battlefield because I forgot something like I did, but I got someone coming with it. We're not going to go back to the battlefield, so the tour will end on Sandy Ridge, and you can just go to your hinterlands, wherever you're going. Is that any problem? Anybody really need to go back to the battlefield? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. It's yours, Gary.
Okay, what's our next set of maps so I keep us in line here? 6B, 6C, what do we got? Oh, one of these ones on the back, conserving space. 6A. Okay, I'll run through a couple maps I didn't see that you guys had. You see 6A, Sandy Ridge deployment, 3:30. That just shows where the batteries are. We'll actually be at the middle battery. You see Waters. We'll be there at the end of the day. So the next one I want you to go to is, wait for it, 6B. Oh yeah, 6B. Now there's a Columbine division that's tightly packed. We're going to get to that. Okay, so right now, if you look at map 6B, you see the Colonel William Glass Farm, Rose Hill. That's that property right down there. That creek colored house. Okay, so we are just north of it. So you see next to the parentheses for roads is that little icon for a structure. That's the house. And then you follow the road up and it turns on a right angle and there's another one. That's a barn that no longer exists, so that's coming closer to us. So we're north of that right now. So we're between this little creek bed and the barn. That's where we are right now. As you can see, we're actually in line with the house. Okay, so we're going to walk straight out to where the battle takes place. So we're on the opposite side of Sandy Ridge from what we saw this morning. This morning, remember, you saw the yellow house, and that was like a mile away from us. We're on the other side of it. So if you look over this tiny little ridge in front of us, you see the tree line in the distance there? That's the topographical crest that we caught from Pritchard's Hill on the other side. So we're basically in line with that now. So we're on the far end of it. We're going to walk toward Sandy Ridge from essentially west to east to pick up the battle on that side. Where did I leave us off? I had both of these forces coming at each other, but really not intending to ever strike each other because they don't know each other exists. They're going after the other side's batteries, right? That's what this is all about. By the way, before we leave, we'll get a better view of it, but you see the high ground on the other side of Jones Road there that's rising up that hill up there? That'll have Confederate cavalry on it, and it'll be commanded by Major Oliver R. Funston, Ashby's second in command. Ashby will split his force. He has about 150 cavalrymen go with Funston over here to cover Jackson's flank. All right, so he's thinking of the flank. I'll cut to the chase. I always hate using that phrase, but I'm cutting to the chase. At the end of the day, these guys are going to fail miserably. Union cavalry will outperform Confederate cavalry in early 1862. Who'd have thunk, right? But they'll come in through the middle and capture most of those 250 invited guests of Fort Delaware Prison. They'll mostly be cavalry captures because Union cavalry from Ohio and West Virginia will slip in between. By the way, for those that are around the region, how many of you know where Dinosaur Land is?
I was going to say.
Dinosaur Land? If you're at Dinosaur Land on 340, 522, and you head further south from Dinosaur Land, the next building up on that side of the road is a little vacant brown house on a hill. That's Funston's house.
Please buy it because it's about ready to fall down.
Yeah, it's a brick house. In other words, he's indigenous to the area. He knows the region really well, but we still somehow allowed Union cavalry to slip through on him at the end of the day. So that's what's over there. The rest of the fight we're going to pick up is over here. I left us at 3:15, 3:30 p.m. And the infantry fight that's going to occur on Sandy Ridge, we're going to actually do it chronologically. I have a couple little stops to get us to coalesce, to get close up our ranks, and to give a couple little tidbits along the way. But we'll pick it up chronologically. This story This story was really fun for me to work out in the mid-90s, and I had the help also of a gentleman who was probably the first metal detector to use the area in the 1960s, and he was able to tell me where the heaviest and the lightest concentration of bullets were found, which next to a scientific archaeology dig, this is as close as I was going to get. Okay, whose map did I borrow? There you go.
One trivial point about houses again. So the Glasses were contemporaries to the Pritchards.
You see the structure.
Yeah, and very similar structures. And Colonel Glass was the commander of 51st Virginia Militia. His deputy was Solomon Pritchard, who had been the youngest brother, who was in that big abandoned house. We believe he lived there for a couple of years as a young man. He was one of the, he died and was killed very early in the war up around the Potomac River in 1861. So he was a deputy commander to Colonel Glass. He was a lieutenant colonel at age like 23.
And this will have Southern claims on it because in the winter of 64, 65, Custer's cavalry will be encamped here. In fact, Custer's headquarters is at the Glass's brother shops.
The Corps commander was in the Pritchard house. They also had a claim, and I believe both of them got
mostly
this much
for the fence rails. These are those fence
21,000 fence rails.
All right.
Fence rails.
All right, folks, follow me.